Hi, this is Atya here. Welcome to PhDpreneur, where we discuss PhD, mindset, and personal finance. Today, I am going to speak about a very important topic as far as PhD education is concerned: how to get fellowship for PhD in India. We are going to speak about what a fellowship is, what is the amount of fellowship, what do you mean by a fellowship, and what is the process for it. So, without further ado, let's begin with today's video. What do you understand by a fellowship, and what are the difference between scholarship and fellowship? Because I see many of the times both the terms being used interchangeably. There is a difference. So fellowship basically means a kind of funding. That is a different thing, that from which institute you get it or what is the funding agency. But fellowship basically means it is a type of funding. Now, what is a scholarship? Scholarship also means a type of funding, but the term scholarship is usually used for any kind of funding that you get during the period of education. And the term fellowship is generally used for funding which is given for research purpose. Scholarship could be merit based or it could be need based. If somebody tops the class or somebody tops that particular subject and fulfills the criteria, that could be a reason for giving scholarship. Or say suppose the candidate requires financial assistance, so in such cases also scholarship is given. Fellowship is purely given on merit and generally serves the purpose of funding the research. So scholarships usually cover tuition fees and other fees associated with the program. Fellowship also covers expenses, but it can also give you an internship, or it could also give you an opportunity to work in a particular lab of your interest. So what does the term PhD fellow mean? The term PhD fellow means a candidate who is getting a particular fellowship, irrespective of which is the funding agency. As far as PhD is concerned, there are two basic types of fellowship. One is external, one is institute. External means you are working somewhere and some external funding agency is giving you money to conduct your research. Okay, so they will pay you for getting the results. External fellowships could be from several agencies. Like if you clear NET exam, then usually you get the funding from UGC, okay, or CSIR. If you clear ICMR exam, then you get funding from ICMR. So these fellowships you will get irrespective of where you work or which lab you work. Also there is DBT exam. If you clear DBT exam, then you will get funding from DBT. There are women scientist program also for women candidates if they are willing to pursue research. Institute fellowship means if you are working in that particular institute or university, that university will pay you for your research. Okay, so this has nothing to do with external funding. If you have not cleared any kind of fellowship exam and still want to pursue research, then institute fellowships help you in funding your research. Now the criteria to get institute fellowship will depend from institute to institute. Sometimes the institutes have their own exams, okay, which are different from these national exams like NET, DBT or ICMR, and that will help in selecting the candidates, and then they give fellowship based on that. Sometimes it is directly through interview. So these are some of the things that you can keep in mind. Can you do your PhD without NET exam? And the answer is yes. Absolutely, you can pursue research without answering any kind of national competitive exams. I don't think a research aptitude can be assessed solely through the exams. But anyway, now what you have to do is you have to apply in that particular institute or university and see what is the criteria for that location or institute. Okay, if they have their own exam, then that is sufficient to give you funding, or sometimes if it is directly through interview, as we have discussed in the previous point, then you can get your funding based on the interview you have answered. Now, why apply for a fellowship? Or in other words, you can say why answer these national entrance exams? Because your research gets covered, okay, and when you enroll for a PhD, there are a lot of expenses. So all that gets covered. There is contingency. Then there is contingency. Other financial assistances are also given through the funding agency. So that will depend on what kind of exam you clear. There are three ways to get a fellowship for PhD. One is you answer these national exams, as I've mentioned previously, NET, DBT, ICMR, or you can apply for Women Scientist Research Program. That is one way of eligible for a fellowship. Second is if you have a particular topic in mind, say suppose you have a topic related to solar energy. So whichever funding agency is responsible for financing, that you will have to do your own research and find out which is the funding agency that can sponsor a project for that particular topic. You write a project proposal and you submit it. If it gets approved, then you get funding for your work. Third way to apply for fellowship is to work with somebody who has already established a topic in mind and who can guide you or help you in getting your funding. That is one thing. That can happen when you work as a project fellow also, or it can happen once you enroll for your PhD also. As far as PhD fellowships are concerned, sometimes the amount is same for all 4 to 5 years, or it will be same for the first 2 years, and depending on your progress, they will increase for that you will have to give a progress report, and or interview is conducted. Based on that, your fellowship is increased or not increased. The amount of fellowship will depend on the kind of funding agency. As far as UGC fellowships are concerned, the amount is around 35K. For Prime Minister's Research Fellowship, I think it is around 70 to 80K. I'm not very sure, but the amount will depend on the kind of funding agency and from where you are getting the fellowship. So I think I've covered majorly all the topics related to today's video. I'm thinking of doing a separate video on UGC fellowship alone. So if you are interested in UGC fellowship or any other fellowship for that matter, you can let me know in the comments.